I'm going to take a few minutes just to review some of the journal entries that I'm reviewing from your workbook, Robert. I see a lot of good things. I just want to highlight a few that I believe would be best to make changes. The first one is supplies. Now, although this is right, I want you to be a little bit more specific. I would say using this term would be far better when you're recording these entries, because it helps you to see that this is in fact an asset that we are going to use at some point. So that's the only change I would suggest here. Looking at the entries overall look good. I just want to note a couple things here. The expense is wonderful. That's a good entry, but you're not getting the credit side. Remember, we receive a bill. Like, for example, I get a Med-Ed bill, which is my utility bill, right? Well, I don't usually pay it in the moment I get it, but I have incurred the expense. So if we're going to record a transaction, I have an obligation to pay this bill at some point, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days. So you need to record your obligation here. If you have any doubt as to what account to use, looking at your chart of accounts would be helpful, because if you look at the liability accounts, you only have 4 to choose from. That's the first thing. So it really narrows what choices you have. And number 2, if you look at the other liability accounts, you can kind of reduce or eliminate 3 of them. It's not interest, it's not wages, and it's definitely not a note. So you only come back to accounts payable. And that's kind of how you can deduce what the right account is, just to give you some hints. That's the first thing. Secondly, I've noticed, let me look on here. Here, now you've recorded, if you could see here, you recorded the wages right here. The amount is not correct. You have to change that amount. Let me highlight that. That amount is incorrect. So go to your worksheet to find out what the amount should be. But you recorded the expense, which is absolutely correct. The problem is here, you don't want to debit the expense again. What you want to do is reduce the obligation and reduce your cash. So I would assume here you should go back and change this to 120, maybe just a key punch error. Nothing big, just I want to bring that to your attention. The same thing here. I want to make clear you're not recording the transaction again as you did correctly in July. You know, here, that's fine. What you want to do is reduce the obligation and reduce your cash. So you don't want to record the expense again. You've already recorded in the previous month. Now, this one here is a little bit, I think we need to change this. Let me tell you, when you're recording your transactions for baking supplies that you're buying, it's not until you use them that you're going to record the expense. And that's going to be really done within the adjusting entries section of the project. So here, you want to increase your supplies asset. You want to increase the obligation to pay it. So you need to record your obligation, record the liability, and increase the asset. So that's one mistake here you can fix. Now, prepaid rent is not correct, because remember, you've incurred the expense. This is August, not a prepaid. So, let's see what else here. Again, same entry that you noted in the previous month. Just record your obligation and you should be set to go. I'm going to look at your September as well. And again, the things that I'm seeing are very, very mild. They're not, they're not a lot. It's just that you have to remember when we're recording here, we have to remember, are we paying something? If we're paying something, you can deduce it as cash. If we have to pay it later, it's going to be a payable of some kind. When we have an asset, we have to make sure it goes up. We don't record expenses until we've incurred them. So assets that we haven't used yet, it's not really an expense to us yet. So that's the kind of things you have to think about. And I think I've noted those in the previous journal entries. This one here is you're getting cash, or you're paying out in cash. And dividends is a reduction in equity, which is what you're doing. So you need to change these two. The dividend should not be credited. And you should not be incurring a liability because you did in fact pay it. Now, if you didn't pay it, then you would have a dividends payable, so to speak. So make that change to that particular transaction. This one here, it's really the same thing that I've noted before. When you pay the bill, you reduce your cash and you reduce the obligation. And I'm just highlighting those because it's the same kind of error that I noticed in the previous month. Just repeat it. Let's look down here and see if there's anything else that need to be changed. Yeah, so basically I am just noting maybe 3 errors. You just repeated them in the August and September journal entries. So make those changes and you should proceed forward. Very, very good work. I mean, minimal things that I've noticed. Very good work. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you.